What were they thinking? Hi, I'm Jeff Jackson, and I counsel people who've lost someone they love to suicide. What were they thinking is a question that you and probably everyone around you have considered 1,000 times. In an earlier video about the science of suicide, I explained how mental health professionals are just starting to understand suicide as a distinct diagnosis, something caused by a brain chemistry disorder. But what does all that science mean? How does it affect the thinking, the perception, the mind of the suicidal person? Here's my theory, and I caution you, this is just my personal theory, but it's based on a lot of experience. Almost always when I describe this theory to a fellow survivor, they nod in agreement because it rings true. See if it does for you too. Everyone experiences emotional pain from time to time. The unavoidable pains of life, great, small, and everything in between. They come when we suffer loss, failure, disappointment, heartbreak, or just general angst. Fortunately, we also experience a range of emotional joy, like love, success, friendship, and good times. Throughout our life, our brain continually processes these various experiences. Remember, everything we experience in life, everything, is processed by our brain. It's an organ, a physical system of chemistry and electrical impulses. Some of us have more hardships than others, but generally their effects either fade with time or we find ways to cope with them, file them away, and move forward. Some pains are traumatic, and they naturally remain with us much longer, perhaps even for the rest of our lives. But our greatest joys work the same way, and their positive effects linger too, generally balancing things out. But I believe this suicidal brain chemistry disorder interrupts this process. The emotional pains of life cannot be effectively processed and do not dissipate with time. They stick, both the large and the small. Even after years have passed, the victim continues to feel the acute pain from each negative event as strongly as the day it happened. Imagine that for a second. Think of something bad that happened to you years ago, but now maybe you can almost laugh about it. You can remember it, but it doesn't hurt you anymore. Well, imagine if that negative event still hurt today and every day as badly as the day it happened. And then imagine every other emotional pain you've felt ever since piling up on top of that one, never going away, never dulling or dissipating. Joys have only a fleeting effect and don't take hold or counterbalance the negatives. Any positive emotions are eventually crowded out by the gathering pain. And that pain accumulates until it blocks out all other thoughts and emotions, making life unbearable and seemingly without hope. When that threshold is breached, they can think of nothing else but escape. And that's a really important thing to remember about suicide. Write this down. Suicide is not a desire to end one's life, but a need, an absolute necessity to end that pain. Now, I know it's hard to think of the person you lost in that kind of pain, knowing that perhaps you were completely unaware of it, even as you spoke with them, interacted with them, lived with them. But that's the hard truth of suicide. That's why it so confuses and deceives those of us left behind. But always remember, that horrible, painful state that they lived in, it's over. They are not in that agony anymore, which means it's time for you to start healing. And I've created these videos to help you do just that. If this feels like what you need, subscribe or follow, and check out all I have to offer on my website, makingsenseofsuicide.health.